All right, Stephanie, thank you. Thanks for everybody that's participating in this webinar today. We've got a couple of co-presenters here. We'll do some quick introductions. Ron, you want to kick it off, and then I'll follow up, and we'll get busy on some of the content we have prepared for these folks today.
Excellent, Dave. Ron Klontz here, executive over at Godlan. Been working with Cloud Suite Industrial Syteline for a little over 30 years, so a lot of time in the trenches, if you will. Really looking forward to what we have to present today. As we know, this area of logistics and shipping and all that is really taken center stage of how you ultimately are going to have to be able to track everything and deliver expectations to the customer. So nice to meet everyone and looking forward to the conversation and the webinar.
Thanks, Ron. And as far as questions that you might have, you can go ahead and we'll take those at the end. If you want to put those, I believe, in chat or Q&A, we'll have somebody monitoring those, and then we'll get going. But I'm Dave Benoit. I'm Senior Vice President of Elemica for Carrier Connection Suite of Transportation and Logistics Solutions. Just real briefly, Elemica works with businesses to automate processes across the entire supply chain. And that includes everything from sales order entry to procurement functions, choosing route plans, carriers, executing shipments, which is what we're going to be talking about today, and providing supply chain visibility. And you'll see that come out in the sessions today. What's particularly exciting is we've been very fortunate to work with Godlan for a number of years. We have a long history of helping businesses running Infor Syteline extend its transportation capabilities in order to comply with carrier, customer, and regulatory requirements by automating their outbound packing and shipping operations. And we'll be talking through that today because the product that we're going to be talking to you about is built to operate as an extension of Syteline, in great thanks to the Godlan integration that has been developed, and thereby eliminating manual processes, the need to use multiple and outdated systems, and some other things that we'll cover a little bit later in the presentations. But I thought I'd like to start off by providing just some marketing insights and sharing some of that with you, some statistics on the state of logistics in the U.S. One interesting trend that we've seen, for the last several years, what shippers are telling us. Some of these may resonate with you as we go through them, and how Elemica and Godlan working together are helping them meet some of these challenges that they're facing. So we're focused in today on insights for businesses who are in the business to get the correct item to the right customer at the time and place they need it and do so profitably, right? And there's a lot of moving parts in that from within the ERP environment, within Syteline, in order to make that happen. And as operating as an extension of Syteline, we're able to complement the investments that you've made or going to plan on making in Syteline. So we'll share some of that. This is kind of the foundation from where some of these insights are provided. So this comes from a recent publication called The State of Logistics, that's published by the Council of Supply Chain Management Professionals. And there's a couple interesting things here. It's just showing trends by mode of transportation. Our solution, our collective solution here does manage transportation for everything that you see here, from parcel to ocean to air to over the road. And this is just showing some of the growth and some of the decline in some of these areas as we come out of the black hole that was COVID. So things are beginning to stabilize but change, and things are becoming a little bit more difficult. And there was a couple interesting quotes that are here. The age of building supply chain around just cost reduction consideration is over. The new value is taken center stage, and that's resilience. And that's what we work with Godlan and the Syteline with our product to help ensure that your supply chain is resilient. And today we're focusing in on transportation. The other quote was, transformation rippling through logistics sectors are the result of rapid evolutions in the delivery requirements and consumer or customer expectations. We're going to talk about that because what we have seen, one of the first insights, I want to draw your attention to the growth of parcel. And now your businesses may be experiencing this, others may not. You may not be a parcel shipper. But what we've seen is big freight is becoming small freight because of the customer demand to get the product that they want as quickly as possible. So we see warehouses moving towards where the concentration of their customers are. So I wanted to talk a little bit about parcel. We are somewhat unique in this space in that we have a lot of experience. I've been in the parcel sector for about better part of 25 years. And so I thought I'd share a little insight into that and what does that actually look like and mean. All right, so let's look at parcel global trends. I want to take this percentage here, this growth of 13.7%, and kind of make it a little bit more real for those who buy product online, those who buy product for their business, those who ship product to their customers. This comes from the parcel shipping index that Pitney Bowes produces every year. And so this is one of the trends that we see is a notch up, a growth in the parcels in 2022. So this is 22 to 23 and year over year growth. And if you don't think that that's a lot of parcels, I'm breaking it down. I'm breaking it down to over 5,000 parcels are processed globally per second. Then 441 million per day, and then making it real personal. The average person, if you average people, that's 42 parcels per day, and the growth is significant. I don't know if you're seeing that in your business. We're seeing it a lot in the businesses that we're talking to, is their parcel volume is increasing. And you can see there's a big growth factor on it. And managing parcel carriers has a much higher level of complexity when we're talking about meeting carrier compliance requirements, when we're talking about meeting regulatory compliance for domestic and international shipments, and even more complex shipments like dangerous goods. I mean, it seems like there's lithium batteries in everything. I mean, we've even talked to bakeries that the way that they have to do this, there is some power. So everybody seems to be shipping things with lithium batteries in it, and we cover that as well. So there's a lot of parcel being moved. Of course, our platform does a lot more than parcel, and we'll cover some of the areas here shortly. So these are some statistics and then some global trends that we're seeing. These are from analysts in the business. And so they do cover over into our conversations that we have with individuals, but there is this growth of e-commerce. Even if you're not an e-commerce based company, what we're seeing, even with companies that are shipping B2B, that they're taking on a persona of e-commerce about supply chain visibility that is needed, about getting product to businesses quicker. So that growth in e-commerce is spreading over into what our traditional customers, which are primarily B2B. We do some things in the retail space, but we're mostly in discrete manufacturing, wholesale distribution, consumer products. We also talk with customers about sustainability and all the ESG initiatives that those businesses have. And we can speak to that and maybe answer some questions if you have on that. One of the things that we talk a lot about is supply chain visibility. And as a supply chain network, Elemica itself can provide visibility from the time an order is created, sales order is created, all the way till the time it's delivered. And likewise, from the time a purchase order is issued to a supplier, the inbound visibility of those goods coming in from suppliers. So we'll be talking about that quite a lot today. And I think that this is a problem that's pretty systemic across a lot of businesses because they may have a bunch of different systems. They may be looking at a bunch of different websites to see where these packages are. Again, it's about knowing where that package is and ensuring that it's going to get delivered when the customer wants it. And now it's about technology, companies making investments in their digital transformation journey. So we're more involved now in talking about digital transformation with our customers and with our future customers, and less so about very specific. So we're part of one smaller part of a bigger conversation that we're having, and these are these digital transformation strategies. All right, so what are shippers telling us? And this information just comes from talking to thousands of shippers per year. Elemica is a global company, so we're talking to shippers in not only North America, but in Europe and Asia Pacific and Latin America. And there's common themes that come up, and these are some of the themes that come up, and this is what they're telling us. So this is a big one, right? And we mentioned this a little bit earlier. They're constantly pushing businesses for faster delivery time, and they need more capacity in order to do it. There were days in the past when you could have one or two or three carriers handle all of your freight. That's pretty easy to effectively manage if it's only two or three carriers, right? But in today's world, especially post COVID, when capacity became a real big issue, especially for those that may be shipping ocean and air freight, there is a need to mitigate your risk across more carriers. So our platform supports over 400 different carriers, for example. So it helps you effectively manage and have choices when it comes to selecting a carrier that's going to get the correct item to the right customer at the time and place they need it. This is probably one of the more common things that we begin discussing. Is this an issue? And it is. And then you need to do so profitably, right? If somebody wants it next day air, you don't want to have to pay exorbitant costs for that. Maybe there's a regional carrier that can get it there faster. Maybe there's a better local mom and pop shop or last mile or final mile carrier that can get it there in the same amount of time for less cost to you. Another challenge that we see that companies are facing is their systems are outdated. And there are a certain amount of manual processes required to get these things out. And it's cumbersome for their staff, right? An example of that would be somebody that ships dangerous goods, for example. They will use perhaps one shipping system to process their non-hazmat material and then have to go to another system to process their dangerous goods. We can bring that together into one integrated platform. There are companies that use carrier provided systems. I'll ship UPS on UPS's system, FedEx on their system. I'll go to xpo.com to ship. And so there's all of these systems, and they generally are not integrated or built to operate as an extension of Syteline. So the outdated technology gets to be pretty problematic because it does result in some manual processes and really too many systems, especially if you're a global company. You may be doing something and using something different in Europe than you do in the US. And then we talked about supply chain visibility. When we think about transportation and logistics, it touches virtually every aspect of the business. So not only does customer service need to see this, it's very possible that finance needs to see where things are going based on revenue recognition. They recognize revenue when it departs. They recognize revenue when it gets delivered. So that supply chain visibility is really important. Salespeople might get paid commission on delivery. So everybody wants to look at that, and generally they contact their transportation department. So between what we've done with Godlan here and the Syteline product, you do have visibility in Syteline into the shipping activity. If you need to dig a little deeper into the data, we have that for you as well, and we'll cover that information here in just a little bit. And then it's about these complex shipments. It's international shipping, it's dangerous goods shipping, and the regulatory compliance that needs to be adhered to. Otherwise, it's going to result in, guess what? Delivery delays. Delivery delays result in maybe losing a customer. All right, so we help automate that entire process, and the integration that we built with Godlan brings over all the necessary data that our application, xCarrier, needs in order to do everything that you need to do, whether it's electronically filing information with the U.S. Customs, whether it's producing the required international documents, or transmitting to your carrier's paperless commercial invoice data. And then, of course, we talked a little bit earlier about combining that with dangerous goods processing and printing out all those hazmat shipping papers that either are being prepared manually or on another software or on another website. So those complex international and dangerous goods type shippings go from maybe 10 or 15 or 20 minutes sometimes into seconds with the integration that we have with Syteline. Yeah, and then the non-integrated systems, again, we mentioned that just a little bit earlier. When we're dealing with websites and multiple systems and lack of tight integration, they're more prone to shipping errors that can definitely impact the business's bottom line. Back to that original thing about doing this profitably, right? Everything is about profit in a business. And then it's also about making a user of the systems, their life a little bit easier, right? And that enhances operational efficiency. So big business benefits. We'll cover those business benefits here in just a little bit. But this shipping errors are pretty dramatic, right? And just to give you an idea, we did a study for one customer in upstate Wisconsin, and we asked them, what is the cost of your business of a shipping error? It might result in a return. It was a bad, you didn't pack validate it. It's a wrong item. What is the cost to your business? They said generally around $200. Okay, so $200. And how often does that happen? Well, I mean, we ship out 1,000 packages a day, so 2 or 3. So that's $600 a day times 262, 265 shipping days. We want to help eliminate easily preventable errors. And it could be as simple as address correction. It's ensuring that that item is being packed, does belong to this sales order, so we can catch any picking and packing errors. These kinds of errors can take the profitability out of a sales order faster than anything else, let alone possibility of losing a customer. And that goes into big business costs being wanted to be reduced. Operational efficiency is the key to getting the right item to the right customer at the time and place, and then managing those costs across multiple carriers. So that year-over-year cost reduction. So when you look at this type of technology, you kind of look at all of these things. Some of these you may be experiencing. What is the cost of not doing anything? Do you have shipping errors? Do you lack supply chain visibility? Are your shipping systems integrated in a manner that helps you leverage your investment or your future investment in Syteline? So we'll cover this a little bit more here shortly. All right. So how, together with Godlan, are we helping businesses? And then we'll get into the more meat on the bone and what the systems look like and how they are fit into your business. So partnering with Godlan provides seamless integration so that our xCarrier operates as an extension of Syteline. That means it's implemented quickly. Years of experience have gone into the development of this. And then we continually work with Godlan to develop more and more. And we'll hopefully spend a few minutes with you to talk about some of the other solutions that we have that may be of interest. The other is making transportation more manageable. That's kind of what our mantra is with our product company, by eliminating those manual processes. And there is a lot of outdated systems out there. I'm not going to share any names with you, but there's some of the biggest companies in the world that are using systems from about 12 or 13 years ago. Or they're using the example I gave a little bit earlier. In Germany, they're using DHL systems and FedEx's system. In US, they're using UPS. They have not made that leap, that digital transformation leap, to have one unified platform globally that everybody uses that is integrated with their ERP systems. So we make that happen. Providing automation, again, reducing operational costs, right? And reducing transportation. An example of transportation cost reduction might be rate shopping across those carriers that you determine service the state of Texas the best. Or if we're shipping LTL, this carrier I know delivers on time at the lowest cost. I want the system every time we ship to any city in Dade County, Florida. I want this carrier to take it. It can take the human decision making out of it, because that can be prone to error. That can be prone to favoritism, and the systems can make the decisions. These decisions can be made upstream when you're creating a sales order, and they can be created. These rate shoppings can happen at the time of shipping once everything has been packed out, weighed, and ready to go and be put on trucks. Our platform does support 400 global carriers and logistics service providers, so it really is anywhere to anywhere shipping. Our makeup is probably about 65 to 70% of our customers and carriers are North American based, but one of the fastest growing areas that we have is Europe, where we have great carrier coverage. And again, these are across all modes. So we're primarily working with and digitally connected to parcel carriers, LTL carriers, full truckload carriers. And for those that are shipping out ocean and freight, we're digitally connected to freight forwarders who typically handle that type of freight for most businesses, unless you're just a very large shipper where you're booking your own air freight and you're booking your own ocean vessels for transport. And we talked about the shipping errors. Shipping errors also result in unrecoverable billing adjustments. So if I misrate something, if I put in a bad address, I'm going to get dinged some type of charge. If there is something that I did not add that is a known accessorial, like a lift gate charge, and I get invoiced for it, or I receive an order through e-commerce and there's some errors, because data that is perfect inside of e-commerce and ERP is not necessarily perfect when it gets to carrier compliance and regulatory compliance. So these are unrecoverable billing adjustments that appear on your UPS bill, your FedEx bill, and you can't go back to the customer and say, hey, by the way, you gave me a wrong address. Well, maybe you can. We shipped you 4 boxes. The charge is $10 times 4 boxes to us. So that's typically not how you operate your business. So these are those easily preventable billings errors that can result in uncoverable business billing adjustments. And then we talked about this. I've kind of beaten this to death on reducing complexities, making everybody's job a little bit easier, and the supply chain visibility aspect of it. So companies that we talk to, they recognize revenue on delivery. Customer service needs to have quick access to a proof of delivery because they have a customer on the phone and they go, well, no, I know that you say that Dave Benoit signed for it, but Dave is saying he didn't. And if you have that proof of delivery with David's signature on it, then you wrap up that conversation, very, very quickly. So we want to get information into the hands of enterprise users to make their job much better, so that the customer experience is that much better, because that's what everybody is gearing everything for. All right, is to always know what the status of a customer's order is. Make sure that we're rating freight properly so that we're invoicing them properly. Making sure that we're rating properly so that we're capturing freight accruals properly. So you can see all this transportation data is repurposed within Syteline for a lot of different areas of the business. All right, so we're going to go. I'm going to take a breath and get a drink of water here, and I'm going to turn the first few slides over to my co-presenter, Ron, and we're going to walk through kind of a day in a life, how this xCarrier integrated with Godlan's connector for Syteline works. And Ron, I'll navigate the slides as best I can. If I'm too slow on the gun, just shout at me.
All right, sounds good. So how does xCarrier with Elemica kind of fit with some of the shipping options within Cloud Suite Industrial? So as everyone knows, there's a number of options in Cloud Suite Industrial in which you can ship product. It's everything from order shipping to getting into shipment via more of a traditional pick, pack, and ship process. So you got a couple of ways that you can really do this. And so one of the ways that we'll kind of show, I've got some screenshots around, is one that's a little more extended, other than just standard order shipping, to where you would be in Elemica and you just pull up the order number, it pulls up the details on the order to ship via, and we go through a ship process, right? This one's more of looking like we go to the what I would call the pick workbench. Hopefully everyone's kind of familiar with this. If you're not, this is the workbench in Cloud Suite Industrial Syteline, in which it brings up all orders. In here, you can sort by ship via methods and the like, customer PO. So a lot of times customers will determine the routine or the methods in which they want the products picked. And that picking can result in, I would call paperwork, if you will, the assignment of inventory. There's a lot of kind of things that go into that. And then here you can see this is the inventory assignment screen, to where you could designate the pick for a given area within Cloud Suite Industrial. And this is where you get into lot and serials and, all those things that may go into how your particular business is going to do this. And then obviously, as we all know, as we go through the pick and we do the exercise of actually doing this, you can do this with and without barcodes. But a lot of times, most companies are going to use like warehouse mobility, and they're going to use something like a barcode or a scan type mechanism to do that, basically to pick that product and kind of do the pick confirm. That is really all you need to do in Cloud Suite Industrial Syteline. And this is the point now that Elemica picks it up and does all that great automation that David talked about.
Great. Thanks, Ron. All right. So this is really where Elemica and you'll hear the name Process Weaver also. We were acquired by Elemica a little over 3 years ago. So you may hear me, and we are also known in the marketplace as Process Weaver for those that may have heard of us before. But this is really where the xCarrier application lives, out in the warehouse, where those pick, pack and ship operations occur. So everything from that we talked about the broad reach of our customers. This is where something is put on a scale, as you can see. All right, we're scanning in shipment ID, transfer orders, any number of ways that we access the correct information for the type of shipment that we're doing in Syteline. We can cartonize. We can tell you what boxes you should be putting what items into, how you should build pallets. And then it's the shipping execution. We're digitally connected to these carriers, right? So we're not having to maintain all of these tariffs and rates that you continually update. We are account-based rating. So we're connected to your UPSs and your FedExes and your XPOs and your CH Robinsons, so that when we get into the weighing and the rating piece of it, those are your contract rates. Those are current fuel surcharges, so that the accuracy of the rating is near real-time perfect based on your contracts. If you're a parcel shipper, you know that that can change. You're not locked in for a year. That can fluctuate based upon volume, weights, the amount of transportation spend, and you want those real-time rates coming back to capture, freight accrual information, but also to invoice accurately. And then, of course, it's printing, and we've talked about this, printing out all the labels and documents you need with one click of a button. We try to do what we call scan and plan. Let's scan in, let's bring all the information in from Syteline, let's click a button, and then that's when all the magic happens. The complete round trip, which means I go to the carrier, I get the rate, I get the tracking number, I print out all the labels and documents. I send out a shipment email confirmation to one or multiple recipients, as you define. And then we update Syteline with tracking numbers, pro numbers, and freight amount, because they're going to repurpose that information for other business processes. And the businesses need that information to provide that level of customer service that we talked about. Because of the digital integration that we have with customers, we also track. Think about a digital connection with the carrier, and think about it as attaching a visibility tether to that pro number, to that airway bill number, to that tracking number. And we will monitor that all the way through to delivery and report back that proof of delivery. With a lot of our companies, as I mentioned a little earlier, they recognize revenue on that. So that can trigger an event inside of Syteline, and we can take care of revenue recognition if you want us to. But it's these data events, these supply chain events, that are really critical to other business processes than you might typically think about as happening out in the warehouse. So to dig a little deeper into what that looks like. So the xCarrier platform pulls everything in from Syteline that needs to be packed and shipped. All right, so we have a couple different packing methods. If we are barcode enabled as a shipper, I can scan in, products here, and I can validate that the product does belong with this particular order. All right, and as I scan, I do partial quantities until, let's say, that first box is full, and I continue on. If there happened to be an item that was picked that shouldn't be packed, we prevent a packing error, which means we did not get the correct item to the right customer at the time and place they need it. Now I've got to expedite that, if you hadn't used this system. So it does pack verification. We can put packing proposals in there on how it should be packed out. If you want to get that sophisticated, we can do that. And then from there, it's shipping execution. All right, shipping execution is what we've kind of talked about in that round trip, where in this example, we're processing 2 boxes, 2 labels come out, both tracking numbers get updated back to Syteline. We send out the shipment confirmation. So it really is this scan and plan. And then this is the magic green button that does all the 25 different things that go on behind the scenes that make us check the data, all right, to make sure that the information that you passed over, let's say for dangerous goods, is still compliant from a regulatory point of view, and prevent those shipping errors from happening. Shipping errors result in delivery delays. And that delivery delays can not only put that order at risk, but put at risk the relationship with the customer, unless you're in a business that you have absolutely no competitors. And if you are, you're very, very fortunate. But most of us do have competitors, and we need to perform at a high level. And we hope and think that this product can do the same for you. All right, so the labels, everybody's seen the labels. Again, parcel labels, we support about 125 different parcel carriers globally. And those parcel labels and parcel connections are pretty complex by comparison to an LTL carrier, let's say in North America. One LTL carrier, they're not the same in terms of performance. I'm not suggesting by what I'm going to say that that's the case, but they do freight the same way. They rate it the same way. There's nothing special that XPO does from a rating perspective that probably a bad example, FedEx Freight doesn't do. So there are differences, but parcel carriers are very unique animals, whether they're national, regional, global. So the pack and ship process is automated by the data that we get in from Syteline and helps facilitate bringing together in one user interface the packing and shipping of every customer order. And then we talked about visibility. All right. So this is just an example within our xCarrier platform of the level of detail that we can provide visibility wise. And of course, you have that tracking number in Syteline, and you can easily go to the carrier website. But what if you have 25 carriers? Do you want to go to the 25 carrier websites? Or would you like our platform to aggregate where FedEx looks the same as XPO, where DHL looks the same as GLS, where UPS looks the same as the post office? So we can pull down and store all of this tracking data. We can pull down for parcel carriers those proof of deliveries. Well, why do our customers want that? A couple of different things. They need it for auditing purposes. But more importantly, the carriers purge all of this data out of their systems, generally in a 4 to 6 month time frame. And a lot of corporate governance on holding data is a year. We have some customers that have regulatory requirements that require them to support, maintain it for 7 years. So we can download and store all this information in our platform, make it available to not only our platform but to other Infor related products, reporting tools, BI tools, other things that Godlan can do for you with that data. So we do have this type of platform that is easily usable, not only just out in that shipping department at that workstation we showed you in the one picture, but this can be accessed. Any user on the enterprise can have access to this data because all of our users are profile based. So for example, a shipper you're going to give certain abilities and rights to and access to within our platform. And maybe there's the customer service representative who needs a little bit more information than that hyperlink that we pass back. And they want to dig a little bit deeper in there, grab the POD, and do any number of things with that data that they would need to do in order to take care of an internal inquiry or one coming in from a customer. So that's just a quick visual on it. I knew we didn't have time today to really get into a demonstration. We'd love to have time to spend with you more doing that at another time, but we wanted to kind of give you a look and feel from the time, an order's created, it's released to the warehouse, and then how we kind of fulfill that pick, pack, and ship operation, because that's what we're about doing, is automating that fulfillment. And then shipping is the last place you have a chance to control the outcome, and we want to make sure that we're preventing any errors that might impede getting the correct item to the right customer at the time and place they need it to be. And then this is just a screenshot of the updates. When we do updates, we do change the status to the ship status. All right, and then you can see here that I've got the tracking number passed back with the URL. And then we pass back the freight amounts. So that's automatically triggered. You don't need to go into Syteline to do this updates. Behind the scenes, that kind of round trip when I was saying we're updating Syteline, this is where we're updating it as well as changing the status to ship confirmed. And then things happen inside of Syteline that I know nothing about, but I know that Syteline customers like the fact that we can trigger that ship status. All right. I'm going to go on to our extended carrier platform. Ron, I didn't know if you had any other things that you wanted to add to that conversation.
I think that's really good, David. I think the only other thing I would mention is that we not only have customer orders, we also handle transfer orders. So for those companies that need to do intersite or intercompany transfers from location to location, you can also just basically enter a transfer order number into xCarrier. We will pull in the details of the transfer order and go through all the shipping execution, just like what David described. So that's an area that I think will help a lot of companies, because sometimes it's more than just customer expectations. It's also internal or intercompany movements that are extremely important, because that freight within a landed cost environment can make a huge difference. And just the track and trace therein that we showed, that can up the game and help a lot with just knowing where things are at. So I thought I would just mention that. And then also back in the shipment master, when all the pro numbers and tracking and freight come back, that will also resonate back to the customer order. If you're on one of the later versions of Cloud Suite, when you hit the shipment tab there, you will get the pro numbers, the tracking numbers, so that you can execute and click on that from the actual customer order. Okay, that's all. Thank you, David.
All right, great, Ron. Thanks for that. All right, I wanted to spend the remaining minutes here just to give you a sense of our expanded carrier connection platform. We've been very successful with Godlan in our xCarrier platform, which is really transport execution, shipping systems. But we also do offer a full transportation management system platform, and I wanted to kind of cover that with you and sprinkle in some other things that may be of interest to you. If you know us, you may not know about us being able to do some of these things. And these are persona based. I'm going to go through this kind of a persona based thing. So we talk about information touching virtually every part of the business. One part of it is customer service, which we've kind of beaten to death with supply chain visibility, because our service reps also take orders. All right. So Process Weaver Elemica has a suite of APIs, because you don't want to be jumping into xCarrier to get the rate and come back in. So we do have APIs that not only can be plugged into Syteline to do rate shopping, carrier determination at sales order creation, but let's say that you do have an e-commerce site and you do want to, as part of checkout, make those kind of carrier determinations. Our APIs can plug into any critical business system that you want, so that if we are starting out by making a preliminary decision on a carrier, or we're committing to a freight cost to a customer that we have on the phone, and capturing that freight cost that will then be on their invoice, you're able to do that with our APIs. So the APIs, for all intents and purposes, kind of power the xCarrier user interface, but they can be the back end, as I said, to other critical business applications. So once that sales order is created, our full TMS system goes into a planner. Now, these are where we're looking for opportunities to consolidate and optimize those shipments, right? So I've got all of these sales orders. I've got 500 of them. I'm going to send them to you, ETMS, and I want you to crunch through all of those orders and determine the carrier and automate with just one click how everything should go, right? So it does the planning, the optimizing it. If you're doing any kind of spot bids where you're going externally outside of your contract carriers, we facilitate that kind of communication. And then it's the booking and the generation of the shipping documents. Our ETMS platform is predominantly built for heavy freight. All right. So a lot of our customers using this are shipping ocean, air, LTL, full truckload. All right, so we have full planning capability within our ETMS platform. Now, once we've done the plan, it's released to the warehouse, right? And we've talked about the pick, pack, and ship. So John, the shipper here, is really the person now that's in front of an xCarrier workstation. And here's where we weigh it, we pack it. So these platforms are glued together in the Elemica network so that they do facilitate operationally and from a data perspective, leveraging each other to provide various degrees of automation. Planning is kind of a background process to some extent, although you can manually plan. Our product is very visual, so it lets you build loads, multi-leg loads, the ground to port, port to port, and then port to ground, the final mile carrier. But this is where the xCarrier platform kind of fits in here, where we're rate shopping, we're producing labels and dangerous goods and international shipping papers. And this is really where we spent most of our time here today. Then we get into customer service. We've kind of talked about that, and this gets into the supply chain visibility. So we showed you one screenshot of our tracking dashboards, but we have much more sophisticated supply chain visibility tools that actually can alert you to supply chain exceptions. let's say that there's a late departure from a port, and you have at any time 5 or 6 or 10 different vessels on the ocean. This is from your inbound. Maybe you're sourcing goods from a contract manufacturer in the Asia Pacific area, and you want to see the inbound freight. You want to be alerted to that. Our platforms are designed to ping and access data from a variety of different data sources, whether it's maritime data, whether it's ELD devices on trucks. We have a mobile application that can be pinged. This gets into predictive ETAs. Now we can help predict if something's going to be late, on time. If it is on time, where's it at? What time is going to be here? And that gets into also doing things like dock scheduling. So our platform also does dock scheduling, which now sets you up without having any kind of congestion and trucks sitting, in your facility that are causing disruptions elsewhere. So time slot management also is something that we do. It's also called dock scheduling. And then it's constantly about communicating with internal users and customers. There are also communication tools between carriers and you. For example, our mobile application, if you have a mom and pop carrier that can't provide you with this digital transformation data that you need, they could use our mobile application and alert you when something was picked up, when it was delivered, grab a signature, and all of that data is pushed back into the Elemica network and can be made available to you in a variety of different ways. And then the last thing that we do that's very common to a transportation management system is add in the financial user. All right, this is where they're going to be doing invoice matching. Because we're digitally integrated with these carriers, we are connected via EDI to every one of your carriers, right? And can consume your invoices electronically. We match that up with what the outbound shipping costs were determined to be. And then we do what's invoice matching. If they match, great, send it to accounts payable to pay. However, if there's disparities and deviations beyond certain thresholds that you would send, you can actually go in there, look at them, say, yeah, we did make that mistake. We're going to have to eat that freight. Now, wait a minute. What is this accessorial charge? This makes no sense. And then it allows you to engage in a dispute, or if you are under contract where you can short pay an invoice, it gives you some flexibility here to know what that net landed cost is going to be. And within this platform, it really kind of covers everything. We talked about all the different areas of the business, but freight auditing is something that if you're not doing it, well, businesses are doing a couple different things. One, they're not doing it. Two, they're outsourcing it. And so our solution is for those who want freight auditing that are self-pay. We don't do freight audit and pay. We just do the freight audit, presuming the freight pay is taken care of by the business. All right. That's the full circle on everything ETMS. We did concentrate, focused a lot today on this warehouse pick, pack, and ship operation, because this is where we have a lot of experience. And sometimes your business, that's all you need. You don't need all of this other TMS. Maybe you need this, and maybe you need freight auditing. Everything is very modular and can be delivered. We need more supply chain visibility. So can you show us what you do with ocean, over the road, predictive ETAs? There's a lot of really cool things that we're doing, and keeping up with what the marketplace is telling us to do, and also keeping up, more importantly, what our customers and our future customers are telling us that they need to operate their business profitably. All right. Almost perfect timing. We wanted to leave about 15 minutes for questions. So I will take a breath here and see if there's any questions that we can help answer.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was a really good presentation. We do have several questions. The first one is this offered for the GovCloud?
Is that question for me or is that for Ron?
Either one of you.
Ron, I'm going to turn that to you.
Yeah. Obviously, the way that we communicate within Cloud Suite, right? That would be utilizing the REST API. That's how we talk to Elemica. So that would be obviously in the GovCloud, but obviously I don't think Elemica has a GovCloud version that would be on Amazon like the way that obviously Cloud Suite Industrial is. So I think that's one Peter would probably have to look at to see if there was any issues with the way that we architected the integration that would cause an issue with GovCloud.
I should have said that architecturally, the xCarrier platform is a single instance platform that is deployed how our customers want it deployed. We do provide hosting and managed services and sell it as a cloud-based solution. However, we do install in our customers' environment or their preferred cloud environment. So, now that Ron, what you said kind of clarified what the question was in my mind. I haven't heard of any place that we haven't been able to live and digitally connect with Syteline. So,
Awesome.
right.
Thank you. One of the next questions is about labels. Who maintains the label templates? Does the customer have the ability to go into the label template and change something? Do you support customer specific labels?
A great question. We usually get asked that. The labels that the systems produce come back from the carriers. So the UPS labels, the FedEx labels, and so forth. Can you modify them? No. Can we modify them? Yes. We're certified by UPS and FedEx and DHL, where we can add extensions to labels. We can, and then every carrier kind of leaves a little white space at the bottom that can be, human readable carriers. But if you need to have barcodes and so forth added, we can add that to, let's say, a traditional 4x6 inch parcel label can become a 4x8 inch parcel label. So those are things that we have to do. In terms of customer, like UCC 128 labels, we do them. But again, we don't provide tools that allow you to go in there and make those edits and so forth because our systems are producing them. We go ahead and take care of that for you.
Awesome. Okay. And one of the other questions we got was how many countries can process Weaver ship to?
Depends on the carrier, but if we just use parcel carriers like UPS, every country that UPS and FedEx ship out of, every country that DHL ships out of. Right now, our customer base, I think at the end of 2023, we were in 101 countries. And so it would just depend on the carrier, whether they will ship from that origin to the destination. But for the most part, for the national carriers, wherever they ship from as a company, we can provide that anywhere to anywhere shipping.
Awesome. And the last question is approximately how long does implementation take?
Yeah, that's always the difficult question, and I'm glad that that's was saved for the end. It's going to vary, and I'm not hedging this. I will give you some timelines. It's based on the size of the implementation, which of course is probably what you're used to hearing. The size of our implementations are gauged by two factors: the number of physical locations from which the product's being used. So distribution centers, warehouses. Let's say that you had 2 or 3 in the US, 1 or 2 in Europe, or a total of 5 locations. 5 locations takes longer than 1 location, obviously. The other factor is how many carriers. So typically, we're seeing anywhere between 5 and 10 carriers with our customers. So let's just say that you have a couple of distribution centers, 5 or 10 carriers. You're looking at approximately from contract signing till the magic Godlan connection gets us all hooked together and happy, generally around 12 to 16 weeks. And that is going to be from contract signing into deployment, configuration, your user acceptance testing, and there's a big range of time. It depends a lot. Some of our customers do their own user acceptance testing in 2 or 3 days. Some do it in 2 or 3 weeks, depending upon what your testing cycle looks like internally. But if it's one location with 3 or 4 carriers, 4 to 6 weeks. So that's really how it's gauged. But on average, I would say our typical projects right at that 12-week mark. If you're talking about UCC 128 labels, and doing some customized packing lists and customize this and hazardous material that, then you're looking maybe pushing it out till 16 weeks.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think that about wraps it up. The other question that we got was about the recording, and I will send that out as soon as it finishes processing. Dave, do you have any final remarks?
So for all the participants, hopefully you found the information informative. Happy Tuesday, if it's still Tuesday, I think it is, and wishing you the best of the rest of your day.
Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon, everyone.